The makers of handcrafted textiles in the Indian subcontinent share a unique relationship with their work. Beyond serving as a source of livelihood, traditions such as spinning, dyeing, or weaving are integral aspects of their social and cultural lives. Textile producing communities have traditionally operated within extended family units, sustaining and disseminating their practice within these groups over generations. Master weavers or dyers have typically passed on ancient traditions, techniques, and details of their work to younger members of their communities. It's through this process of learning that particular practices have been preserved and protected. Let's look at some of the ways in which textile makers acquire their skills, practice inherited traditions, and document their processes. Most artisans follow techniques that have evolved over centuries. These are so particular to the individual communities they belong to that they often cannot be exactly replicated by outsiders, including other textile makers. The specificity of textile traditions results in communities working with raw materials, tools, and even design and technical vocabulary that are unique to them. Weaving clusters, for example, tend to have specialized looms that are particularly designed to suit their needs. The subtle nuances in relation to the techniques and technology of these practices are known only to the community members. The intergenerational nature of textile practices in India implies that most textile makers grow up watching family elders and develop a sense of intimacy with their work. Master dyers, for instance, often rely on faculties of taste, smell, and touch in relation to their processes. In fact, by simply tasting a dye, many dyers can identify the exact shade it'll take on the fabric. Textile processes are so deeply ingrained in communities that artisans rarely refer to written instructions or recipes for their work. In addition to relying on their intuition, artisans often preserve details of their practice through rituals, folk tales, and performances. These traditions not only keep certain forms of costumes alive, but they also inform beliefs and taboos around textile making in the community. For instance, in some indigenous communities of Northeast India, women take on the role of primary weavers because they believe that men who touch the loom could be struck by lightning. Such oral traditions often provide us with insight into particular practices in ways that other forms of records might not. Many of the textile traditions that we see today are practiced by the same communities who have engaged with them for centuries. Artisans act as gatekeepers of ancient traditions that have stood the test of time. Even as they continually evolve their practices to suit contemporary needs and tastes, the secrets of their trade remain carefully preserved within the folds of their community's life and culture.